Hola, bienvenidos de nuevo a esta segunda temporada de nuestras Edxpert Talks, una iniciativa de eTech Evolving Education donde debatimos, reflexionamos y compartimos conocimiento en torno a las tendencias, tecnologías e innovaciones que están revolucionando el futuro de la educación en México y América Latina. Quiero extenderle una cordial invitación a las empresas, instituciones, escuelas y universidades de los sectores público y privado del ecosistema educativo a participar en nuestra edición 2022 de eTech Evolving Education. Allí nos reuniremos con líderes y expertos del sector educativo a nivel global con el objetivo de regenerar para co-construir la educación del futuro ante la nueva realidad. Las escuelas, universidades y las aulas son ahora centros tecnológicos, llenos de dispositivos que son usados por estudiantes y docentes, pero a pesar de ello, los estudiantes a menudo están más desconectados de su aprendizaje. Por lo tanto, es fundamental que los maestros, docentes e instructores maximicen las herramientas disponibles para conectarse con los estudiantes y aumentar su compromiso para impulsar su aprendizaje y obtener resultados exitosos. Además, el aumento de la tecnología se traduce en más trabajo tanto para los profesores de aula como para el personal de programación, por lo que la gestión y el control adecuados de estos dispositivos ayudan a garantizar el máximo retorno de la inversión y una mejor calidad académica. Para abordar estas cuestiones, hoy hemos invitado a Maggie Layfield, vicepresidenta de Ventas de NetSupport, para hablar sobre cómo comprometer a los estudiantes en sus procesos de aprendizaje, maximizando el uso de la tecnología en el aula. Hi Maggie, thanks for accepting our invitation, and it is a pleasure to have you in our Edxpert Talks.
Hi Martha, thank you.
To start, Maggie, I would like you to tell us about NetSupport. When was the company founded and how has its growth process been in the educational field?
NetSupport is 33 years old this year. So we were founded in 1989, and we've really always focused on the importance of providing efficient and effective tools for better device management within the school ecosystem. Since we first began, we've grown to over 18 million installations with customers in over 150 countries worldwide.
Excellent, Maggie. Going into the matter, what are the common challenges instructors are facing today with technology, and how can they overcome them?
Great question. One of the most common challenges that we see is how to productively use technology in the classroom to ensure proper usage and engage students with technology. Many instructors are not digital natives, meaning they didn't grow up with devices, so they often think of using technology in very basic terms, writing papers or doing research. But technology really opens the door to so many different possibilities. And one key way to overcome those challenges is to provide tools for instructors that will allow them to support student learning through things like one-to-one communication and interactions, and as well as that, empower instructors to redirect students who are getting off task or distracted from their learning and help them to get back into and engaged into the materials. Those are all really key elements of NetSupport School, our classroom management solution, and really key things that schools should be doing in their instruction on a day-to-day basis.
That's very interesting, Maggie. In that sense, what should a school or university be tracking, monitoring in order to ensure ROI on their technology investments?
Well, I think anyone who has invested money into resources and technology wants to ensure that they're getting their money's worth. Schools should have an asset management solution in place that tracks key data points, such as how often devices are being used, who's logging into them, and in what manner they're being used, or whether applications, for example, like Adobe products, are actually worth the cost of the licensing that schools are paying for them. The only way to really know that is to have an accurate reporting tool that allows for better, more cost-effective decision-making. If you take a computer lab, for example, a school might purchase 30 computers for the lab, and on any given day, they might see someone using each of the different computers. But with an asset management tool, they'll be able to see that only 20 or out of the 30 computers are regularly being used, while the other 10 are used less often and could be reallocated to other areas of the school and get more use out of them.
Excellent, Maggie. And we know that we need to engage more to the students. How can schools improve engagement to see better learning outcomes?
Well, there are a few instructional strategies that we know are proven to improve engagement. And as a former teacher, I have a few favorites. One of mine is collaborative learning, where students are encouraged to work together with their peers or their instructors in order to solve problems or to understand concepts better. When you have a classroom full of technology, it can be easy to let students work independently, do their own research. But if you create group chats and be able to facilitate those communications between students, or have students work collectively together on a document and contribute their ideas, it allows them to develop their skills, but also keeps them connected to their peers and to their classrooms. And the second thing, which will seem relatively easy, is being very clear on objectives and outcomes. Students really want to know what they will be learning and how learning it will impact them. They need to know why they should care. And they'll be more invested in the process if they think there's a positive reason to engage with the material. So if you can keep those objectives and outcomes top of mind for them, it's going to help them to stay engaged with the material. It's one of the main reasons why our classroom management software always includes lesson details and allows the teacher to share them with the students to regularly remind them of why they're learning what they're learning.
Perfect, Maggie. And we know that hybrid learning is becoming more and more popular. What are the main aspects that you consider determine the success of this educational modality?
Well, I think for most schools, student data points like their grades or test scores are always going to be a primary means of gauging success. But I would argue that for hybrid environments especially, an even greater indicator of success is actually really just participation and engagement. How often are students joining chat groups and contributing their thoughts? How often are they asking for help or reaching out to their classmates or their teachers for assistance? Do we see them joining classes on time or showing up late and failing to show up at all? As we know, grades don't always give the full picture of a student's learning, but a student who is showing up and putting in the effort every day is more engaged than a student who gets an A but barely shows up for class. So it's really important that schools look at the full picture and don't just gauge success based off of a grade or a numerical score on a test.
So do you think there is a new role for teachers and students with this new hybrid learning?
I think so. I think there's an opportunity for people to take more ownership in their learning and to be more student driven. For a lot of classes, the teachers have always focused on sharing their information and the students just listen and process. Now in hybrid learning, it's more important that there's a two-way communication and engagement going on. And there's more opportunities for teachers and students to interact and to work together and to collaborate, which is really the core essentials of education and how we can really be successful together.
Excellent, Maggie. I have one last question. How NetSupport sees the future of education in a region like Latin America, where inequalities have been most evident due to the pandemic?
I think realistically, we know that more than 165 million students in Latin America were affected by the interruption of face-to-face classes due to COVID. And many of them are unlikely to return back to the classroom, which is a very daunting figure to look at. However, this is a really prime opportunity for innovation and recreation for the Latin American education system. Already we are seeing governments like in Colombia and other countries that are developing plans to invest heavily in improving education for years to come. And we're also seeing companies partnering with schools and universities, governments and support agencies and organizations to help close the gap that has been exposed by the pandemic. I'm very optimistic because we've really seen some amazing growth in Latin America over the past year as schools start rediscovering and figuring out their footing in this new world. And I anticipate that we're going to see much more in the years to come, and really look forward to partnering with schools and helping them to close those gaps for their students.
Thank you, Maggie. We definitely have a lot to do in education in our region. We really appreciate your participation, and we will surely see each other during the second edition of eTech Evolving Education, which I remind you will be held from July 7 to 9 at Centro Expositor of Puebla City in Mexico. All are cordially invited to participate. A toda nuestra audiencia, muchas gracias por conectarse y participar. Síganos a través de nuestras redes sociales y no se pierdan los próximos episodios de esta nueva temporada de nuestras Edxpert Talks. Regeneremos y co-construyamos la educación del futuro. Soy Marta Carvajal y ha sido un gusto estar con ustedes. Nos vemos en una próxima oportunidad.